Well, I am so excited this week because I get to talk about something that I absolutely love. And when I bring up this topic, some people go, "Oh, Mal, you are like so woo-woo." They don't get it. Intuition is a gift, and it's one of the most powerful things we can use in our lives to guide us, to help us make major decisions. And this week's guest is an expert on intuition. I am psyched to have Carolyn McGee on today. She's a master intuitive teacher, a coach, a healer, and she's known as the angel, animal, and intuition oracle. She specializes in amplifying your intuitive superpower to listen to, trust, and follow your soul's path to live your most joyful life. She's co-authored 6 best-selling books. She's a popular TV host and sought-after speaker and blogger. She's taught thousands of professional, corporate, and entrepreneurial women to trust themselves and their divine intuition so they can show up in full power in business and life. Yay, girl, I'm like so psyched to have you on today.
Ooh, I love that energy that you've got going, Mal.
Well, we're talking about something that I love, lady. You know, I love intuition. It's funny, you know, we either don't know what it is, don't listen to it,
Yep.
or ignore it. And I'm guilty of all, well, 2 of them. I know what intuition is, but I've been known to ignore it. And I've been guilty of not paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, the cosmic 2x4 comes along and hits me on the head and says, "Wake up, Mal."
It does. Right. Yeah. We always get a redo. If we don't listen, or if we choose to ignore it, or if we don't trust it so we don't take action, it's going to come around again. So we're going to have another opportunity, hopefully from a little bit more enlightened space, but we will get a chance to redo that decision.
So for the audience, some people don't really understand the full power of intuition. Why don't you give them the full picture of just the power of what it is?
Sure, be happy to. So intuition, I look at as a gift. It is our body's resonance with the information that's all around us. You know, that's why we need to be present in order to really feel our intuition and to understand the way it's guiding us. I look at our intuition as our own personal GPS, so that we've got our own guidance system built in, and it's just going to help our soul guide us towards what is truly in our highest good. And the more we practice it, the easier it is for us to understand it.
Now, everybody has intuition, right?
Absolutely everybody. Yes.
So how do we develop it? How do we understand it, connect with it, know that, you know, it's happening?
That is a great question, and one I get asked all the time. So you're going to feel it through your body. As I said, our body is the mechanism. First of all, it's what holds our soul, right? So we're this physical energy, and our bodies are going to react to the stimulus that is out there. You know, we may see something that's using clairvoyance to get a message. We may hear something. We may sense something. You know, a lot of people are clairsentients, which means that you're going to sense it through your feelings. Empathy is something that's highly associated with that. Or you just may know it. You hear people talk about the gut instinct, or, you know, an initial impression on somebody. That's your intuition. Reading the energy and giving you an update on this is a good thing for you or it's not. And it's up to us to allow that information to flow through our bodies and recognize it and then take that action.
Do you think that everybody has a predominant channel on how they receive intuition? I know for me, it's my gut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, my gut is really strong, and so is clairsentience, which is that sensation. You know, a lot of people who are highly empathetic, or, you know, as children we're told that, oh, you're too sensitive. You know, that's clairsentience. You're actually reading the energy in a room or around people, or sometimes you're actually taking on their energy. You know, if you walk in and your shoulder wasn't bothering you, and then the next thing you know, your friend's shoulder's bothering them, and then yours is, you're taking on their energy. And that's, you know, a lot of the reason that there's so much depression around and anxiety, because people are taking on things that aren't even theirs, but they don't know how to create that energetic boundary around themselves to separate that.
So, oh, energetic boundary. I love that. So two questions here.
Yes.
One is, how do we develop the intuition? And the second component is, how do we develop the boundary?
Yeah. So, you know, the power of intention is tangible. So I'm going to answer the boundary question first. But what I imagine is that my energy field is like a soap bubble. You remember blowing soap bubbles when you were a kid, and they were so pretty with that iridescent color? So I just imagine that I've got one of those around my body, my physical body and my energetic body. And I make a conscious decision that only things that are in my highest good can come into my soap bubble. And then I ask, I do a lot of work with the angels. So Archangel Michael is a big guide for me. I just ask him to remove any energy that's not mine and support me with that. So I just imagine that he's pulling it out, and that I've got this nice, clean, filled with white light bubble around me that's my own energy, that I get to make the decision on how I'm going to utilize it.
Now, you mentioned Archangel St. Michael.
Yes.
Not everybody might have the mindset or even the belief that they have the capacity to tap into that. So if they don't, what do they do? Because some people might struggle with the archangel thing.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand that. I think that if you have a belief in something that's bigger than yourself, which most people who are on a spiritual path do, you can just ask that energy to remove anything that doesn't belong to you. Or you can just use your own energy. I like to use my hands. I talk with them anyway. So I will sometimes just say, okay, anything that's not mine, just push it right outside of my field and imagine it just flowing away. It just helps support the vision of it all, and making it more tangible and more foundational. And you had asked about how people can practice. I always like to say trust and verify. I am a big proponent of journaling, and I don't mean long prose, because I'm not a big writer that way, but I like to keep notes. So I'm proving myself right. I have a feeling about something. I write it in the journal, and then I can go back and see that it was the truth. Or I receive messages through all of these different ways, and maybe it's a little piece of a puzzle that I get by seeing something, and maybe I have a dream that gives me a little bit more information. So it's like I'm building a case, so to speak, of what the right answer is. And then in time, I prove myself right.
You mentioned something so important, journaling. I'm an advocate for it. And the reason why I love it so much is that sometimes we get these brilliant ideas, and mine come between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. when the veil between the physical and the non-physical is the thinnest. And that's when I seem to communicate with my higher self, my divine guidance. And so if I didn't write those things down, I would not remember all of them. And as you said, there are little nuggets that come through, little pieces. And if you write them down, then what you're doing is you're collecting all these little pieces. You can go back and you start to formulate the whole picture from the pieces.
Yeah. It's just like doing a puzzle. It's so fun.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. It is, because it's like a little piece here, a little piece there. And then when you put it all together, you get a very clear idea as to what you should be doing, or what the truth is, or what the truth is for you.
Yeah.
But something that brings you a sense of comfort about, what you're doing, or you're going to a path that you may consider taking.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
So tell us a little bit about how feelings can show up in the body.
Well, it's really interesting. From the time I was very, very young, I thought I had sinus issues. Because randomly, it seemed at the time, like my right cheek would feel heavy or flush, and then sometimes my left one would. And I never understood it until I was probably in my 40s and playing around with dowsing rods. I was just getting into the spiritual path and trying to understand, what this energy system means. And I realized as the rods would say yes, my right cheek would get warm and feel full. And if it said no, it was my left cheek. So that's my own body's way of resonating with the divine energy of yes and no, or good for me or not good for me. And I believe everybody has that, but we oftentimes don't know what the signal is that our body's trying to send us until we get that outside connection, so that we can understand that. Another way that we can do is, a lot of times I will feel almost as if the hairs on my arm are standing up, or sometimes I will feel as if I'm being hugged. So there's like this heat and comfort that comes from the outside in. It's not like, if you're exercising and you get the heat from the inside out. It's a very different sensation. And especially when I'm working with, the angelic realm, or any type of energy work. I do Reiki also, and that the sensation, it's as if there's this heat all along my skin.
Now, is there a way for people to develop that sensitivity? Are there practices, steps they can take to develop their awareness of what they're feeling in their body?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I recommend for people is really doing a lot of breath work, really thinking and being present. And you change the energy in your body when you do those deep breaths. I like to do the yoga breathing, the in through the nose and out through the mouth, and imagine the breath coming all the way down to my hips. So I'm really clearing out the energy in my body. And then I just sit in awareness. Sometimes I have my eyes open, sometimes I don't. But I just, like, as my thoughts are going through, what am I sensing? If I'm meditating, is there a pressure in a different place in my head? If I'm trying to, connect with an animal, am I feeling any sensations in my body that aren't mine? Part of that clearing that I talked about, the breathing, is letting or getting a better understanding of my own physical energy, so I know what's mine. If I'm connecting in with someone, then I know the energy's not mine, if I am aware of what my own little aches and pains are. Does that make sense?
It does. And I know that you're an animal communicator. And so I've asked you questions at times about that. And you have all of a sudden experienced a physical sensation that you immediately recognized wasn't yours, but probably belonged to the animal, which was just, to me, so fascinating. It like blew me away. I loved it. Wow. I mean, just such a gift. How do we know how to trust what's coming through? That's a biggie. You're like, oh, this is nuts. I'm being crazy, and you dismiss things, but in fact, they are really valid messages. So how do we learn how to trust all of that?
it goes back to that trust but validate that I mentioned earlier. I highly recommend people start journaling or at least jotting down notes, because it builds up your confidence level. And your body also will give you a yes or a no. There's so many different ways to muscle test. You can use your body as a pendulum. You can ask your heart. You can do different things that way to get a yes or a no. You can use a traditional pendulum. Just hold it and have it do yeses and nos. So say you get a download or a divine whisper that says you're supposed to take a certain class, and you don't know if you really are supposed to invest the money in the class, if it's in your highest good or not. So you can ask, you can use the pendulum, you can use your body for that. A lot of people will do strength testing. If it's good for me, it makes my body stronger. But the simplest one is to use your heart. Now, if you think about your heart, it's actually the most intuitive muscle that you have. Your heart can't lie.
Beautiful.
You just say, is this good for me?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a yes, your heart is going to feel expansive. You're going to glow. You're going to feel filled with love. If it's not good for you, you're going to maybe even feel pushed back from it. Or you might want to close in and protect your heart. So it's a really powerful and simple way that anyone can validate yes or no. You do have to be really clear, though, with your question.
So explain that. You have to be really clear with the question. What do you mean by that, girl?
Yes. So, well, for example, you don't want to ask a big, long statement. You want to keep it clear and concise, and you always want to include the time frame. So, am I supposed to take this class in 2019? And you'll get a yes or a no. If it's a yes, am I supposed to take this class in November of 2019? Or maybe there's two options. Maybe it's being offered every 6 months. So just being clear about things, because the answer may be yes, it's optimum for you to do something, but it may be that it's next year, or maybe it's 5 years from now. So getting that clarity around the timing is really important. I think a lot of people get upset because they say, well, I asked and they said, I got the information that it's right, but they didn't ask about the timing.
Ah.
And so, yes, it is right, but it's not right now.
Now, the universe is fabulous for giving us messages.
Absolutely.
And they can show up in something that you read. That happened to me recently. I was reading a book, and 3 times in 1 week in this book, Oneness by Rasha, it told me that I needed to study energy healing. In order to serve the people I was serving, to better help them, I needed to understand their energy and energy healing. It was like nothing I had ever considered doing, nothing I ever really thought about. 3 times in 1 week. And in between those 3 times, I got 2 emails about a course. I went, I don't think I better ignore this. I think this is a really clear message. I'm meant to do this. And I've signed up. I'm in the program. I love it. I'm just so taken by the information and the capabilities that we have as human beings to work with energy. Mm-hmm. It's like fabulous. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, when we get those messages, I've heard that we get over 1 million messages a day.
Wow.
1 million messages. Isn't that crazy? So finding the way that you received the best and then working to acknowledge that. One of the things that's so amazing about the universe and is acknowledgement and gratitude. The more you recognize those signs, the more you say thank you for those signs, the faster they're going to come in. And once they know, the universal energy knows that, oh, she's paying attention to books, or she's paying attention to numbers, or I can whisper in this person's ear and they're going to acknowledge me. They're just going to keep doing it because, yay, she got it.
And I think the universe wants us to get it. Yeah.
Why there's a million messages, because if we're not getting it one way, they're going to try another way, and they're going to keep doing that. And they're sending the same message out oftentimes to multiple people. In the beginning, when I was doing this work, one of my friends said, oh, I had this brilliant idea, but I didn't get a chance to implement it. And now somebody else is doing it. And my take on that is it just means that it's a valid thing. And your spin is different than that other person's spin, so go for it. The universe is going to get the message out, not only to us, but to other people that need to go out and help people.
Love it, love it, love it.
Mm-hmm.
You have a wonderful free giveaway on your website for the audience. So would you be so kind just to tell them about it and how they can get it?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I call it my soul clarity gift. And what it does is it helps you understand your intuition so that you can really follow your soul's guidance. It's a 3-part gift. The first is a meditation to help you clear blocks. The second is what I call my daily checklist. It's things we want to be intuitively monitoring every single day. And then the third part is a 17-question journaling book so that you can really work on honing, understanding your intuition, and if you've got any challenges with it.
Oh, wonderful. Fabulous. I'm going to go sign up. So if you see my name in there, you'll know.
Excellent.
I love the idea of those 17 questions because I'm a believer that self-inquiry is the fastest way to awareness.
Yes.
And that's how I work through things. I ask myself questions and they get deeper and deeper, and I write down the answer, and then that answer takes me to another level.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned so much through just asking myself questions and really developed my intuition through that process of using questions.
Yes, it is a beautiful exercise.
So Carolyn, tell the guests your web domain, the address.
It's carolynmcgee.com. Very simple.
Oh, that's easy enough.
It is.
I knew that, but I wanted to make sure that they knew it. Wow.
Thank you.
What would be the most powerful little tip that you could give right now to the listeners to get them started on this path of utilizing intuition?
To trust themselves and to take action. Understanding it but not taking action, it paralyzes you. So take an action. It's much more important to take an action and make a mistake than to not make that step. So trust yourself.
Wonderful. And if you ignore it, you're going to know about it, because I've been in those shoes and it comes back and it bites you right in the tail and says, hey, I gave you warning. You didn't want to listen. So here it is. And then you find yourself caught up in chaos, pain, confusion, conflict, which could have been avoided.
Absolutely.
You used your intuition. Thank you, girl. Love seeing you.
Oh,
wonderful. Terrific. Thank you so much for being on today.
It was my pleasure.
Awesome. Remember, folks, pay attention to that intuition. And it really comes more from here. What Carolyn is saying, it's not the head. The head's the ego. I've talked about that a lot. That's where all that chatter is. Down here is where you get those really profound feelings that guide you. Awesome, lady. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.